What's up, my wizards? It's Dev, Mtg down there. We like it a magic, and today we're going back to the halcyon days of 1996, a time when way too many of us were Macarena-ing, myself included, and the Spice Girls awakened feelings in me. But anyway, pardon me, we're going way back there because I feel like 1996 is a year chock full of stuff that people wouldn't know was awesome until way later, and there's one particular example I want to focus on for today's video. You see, these days, we've learned to appreciate the dark themes and the Cable Guy and Disney's Hunchback, the Ghost Town DJ's My Boo is the meme song it deserves to be, and whatever video game you were playing at the time, you know, the one you'd bring up at school and no one would know what you were talking about, yeah, it's now an all-time classic. And it's in this spirit that I'd like to talk about something else from 1996 that is criminally underappreciated, in danger of being lost to history, and deserves to be recognized as one of the last and greatest sets from the golden age of the best game of all time, Mirage. Despite a few missteps in the design, I mean, we can all agree that flanking just isn't especially interesting, and phasing is absolute trash on every level. Mirage still brought a lot of brand new ideas to the design space. The first appearance of modal charm spells, the first appearance of guild mages, even the first fetch lands. It was the first set that birthed fan favorites like Rampant Growth, Wall of Roots, and Pacifism, and it's had its share of unique and well-loved cards like Phyrexian Dreadnought, which would go on to see lots of competitive play, Grinning Totem, the Chase Rare, if you can believe it, when the set was released, sitting at a whopping $20, and Morrow, famously named after lead designer Mark Roseanne Barr. Never forget that Mark Rosewater wrote 2 episodes of Roseanne. Seriously, this is a real thing. Never let him forget it. But back to Mirage, which gets a bad rap despite being the source of countless competitive bombshells like Lion's Eye Diamond, which fits nicely with the theme of things people didn't know were broken until way later, Shallow Grave, which gave Reanimator decks another way too stupid piece, and Cadaverous Bloom, the key piece in the deck that Mike Long took to Worlds that year, and subsequently became the first deck a lot of Magic players saw being played on television. Just look at him, playing with no sleeves like a couple of cave people. How far we've come indeed. Anyway, Mirage is also home to your boy's favorite basic land art ever, and it's also home to everybody's favorite guy. But we're not here to talk about why Mirage was awesome in 96. We're here to talk about why Mirage is still awesome right now, 23 years later, because this set is home to some of the best EDH cards in the history of the game, and there are way too many players who have never been exposed to them. So today, let's bring this set back from the brink of obscurity and give it the shine it deserves by talking about my top 20 favorite EDH cards from this underrated masterpiece. Alright, we made it through the intro together. You're still here. That's awesome. Anyway, let's talk about some Mirage here. Mirage dropped November 1st, 1996, the day after the last time I would ever go trick-or-treating. So this set does hold a special place in my heart and my adolescence, and there's plenty to talk about from this set. Not only do I have a top 20 to give you, and Ziggy's here. Such excitement. But hey, yeah, buddy, I know. I shouldn't have started without you. I'm such a jerk. But anyway, there are also plenty of honorable mentions that I want to bring up in this set. So let me throw it back to voiceover Dev for just a second. The honorable mentions in the set could fill a top 10 in their own right, but there are so many cool cards in the set that it's worth the time to introduce you to the awesome cards like Withering Boon, a Black Essence Scatter if you got the life to pay for it, Final Fortune, a red Time Walk, Polymorph, which can turn an elf into a dragon and has like the coolest art in the whole set, and lots more like Kyrian Elf, which isn't played enough in multicolor elves decks. And then there's Vinifact Bottle, which can make a lot of mana like every other turn. There's Forsaken Waste, which puts a clock on everybody and stops life gain. The especially cool Chaos Sphere, which flips the rules for flying and ground creatures. And there are even some cool commanders that can't make the main list, but nonetheless deserve a mention, like Shaku Inbringer and Hakim Loreweaver, both of which are difficult to build around, but are rewarding when done right. And my personal favorite dumb commander from the set, by the way, is Zuberi Golden Feather, which combines nicely with Griffin Canyon from the next set. And there's also, by the way, these sweet rocks. Everybody likes rocks. Play these, I guess, if you don't have anything else. Thanks, voiceover Dev. Anyway, we can start the actual list now with number 20, Waiting in the Weeds. This could have been an honorable mention, but like, I don't know, if you couldn't tell, kind of the cat guy around here, so I had to put the card that puts a bunch of cats into play. on the list somewhere, and I felt like this was a good spot for it. Mono green decks can get a bunch of cats out of this. Like, remember Gia's Touch from the last video I did where I talked about the 20 EDH playables I liked in the dark? Well, Gia's Touch goes really well with this, as does any number of ramping things that can put a bunch of forest into play for you. And then suddenly, well, you got like 12 cats. What are you going to do about that? So, it's a card that I like, and it's a card that Ziggy probably puts his stamp. If you like Waiting in the Wings, got nothing to say. I just lint rolled myself before I came on camera, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter at the end of this. But anyway, let's go to number 19, Circle of Despair. Another card that almost was in the honorable mentions category, but I really wanted to shine a special spotlight on this because I would imagine that even a bunch of people who were playing back then don't remember this card. And if you're playing some sort of like black-white or just black-white X Aristocrats deck of some kind, you're playing Teysa perhaps, whatever, then this card might go really, really well in there because it lets you sacrifice creatures for just 1 mana apiece, and the upside is really, really nice on a card like this. You know, you're able to prevent damage from a bunch of different creatures attacking you, plus get all those sweet, sweet dice triggers at the same time, and it can really make combat seriously tough for your opponents too. So I just wanted to show you how awesome Circle of Despair is for your Teysa Karlov decks. But here's number 18, it's Sacred Mesa. Now I put Waiting in the Weeds at number 20, so I'm going to put Sacred Mesa at number 18 because I like creature factories a little bit more than I like just spells that put a bunch of creatures into play all at one time. And even though it costs you a Pegasus a turn, once you get enough mana, you're making way more Pegasi, that's right, Pegasi than that. So you just don't care. You have a creature factory on your side of the table that just, whoops, to sink all my mana into this and I don't even have to draw creatures. How do you play this game? You have to draw creatures? What kind of a cretin are you? I still think that I'm always a big fan of creature factories like this on enchantments or artifacts or whatever. And Sacred Mesa is no different. Being able to pump out evasive dudes is always good. Also, just like who doesn't like Pegasus? It's Pegasi are cool. But anyway, we're going to go on to number 17 now, just Lure of Prey. And I was almost lured into putting this card. There's a pun for you. In like the top 10, because like obviously the upside of this is just insane. I mean, it's like the things you can think about in Christmas Land pulling off with Lure of Prey are pretty bonkers, and like your opponents are going to play spells, right? You're in Commander, so there's even more likelihood that when it's not your turn, someone's going to play a creature spell. So yeah, Lure of Prey looks pretty crazy, but you get one shot. It's like 8 Mile, you know, you only get one shot, and if it doesn't go well, then it does. You kind of wasted a slot in your deck and a spell, and like everybody knows what you're up to, and like yeah, you got an 8-drop on turn 2. That seems good, but when somebody just like Doomblades it or something, you feel real bad. So Lure of Prey can go wrong, but those big upside cases put it on the list. Now, number 16 is Early Harvest. You haven't seen this thing in a while, since like the Heartbeat of Spring decks. This thing was in. You play Mind's Desire, and then you Brain Freeze for 1 million. Good decks, good times. But it turns out that Early Harvest is like, it has a chance of being lost to time. And I think that's really sad because Early Harvest is an awesome commander card, especially considering it doesn't like exile itself or anything when you cast it. So you just like get it back over and over with Eternal Witness, and you just untap all your lands like every turn. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I know that you kind of have to commit to a certain kind of land base or whatever, but it doesn't matter because Early Harvest, just being able to untap your lands, I can't tell you how many times I've been making combo decks and I thought to myself, it would really use a piece that untaps all our lands mid-turn. And hey, lo and behold, here's Early Harvest. And even though you only get to play one copy of it in your deck, again, there's so many ways of finding it and then replaying it over and over that you could make major combo engines around just this card. But number 15 is a weird one, and it's Jabbari's Influence, one that I didn't recognize. I was putting this video together and I was like, what is this? Like, I don't remember this. I played a lot of Mirage and a lot of Magic in 1996, and I don't know that I remember this card, but it gives white the ability to instant speed steal a creature, and that is not something I necessarily expected. Let me put it that way. I mean, there's a few hoops you have to jump through. You can only play it on the second main phase of your opponent after combat, and the creature has to have attacked you, and not all the most important creatures in Commander are attackers necessarily, but for the most part, and the creature gets a power bump down, which is kind of meh, but at the same time, even at 5 mana, the ability to steal a creature in white is really awesome, and like I said, I didn't expect it, and I highly doubt that anyone you're playing against will either. Number 14 is Harbinger of Night, and we took a a little price jump there. There are some like $3 cards on this list, but for the most part, this is a really budget list, and I think Harbinger is a great addition to a lot of awesome commander decks. I mean, there's plenty of commanders that will that work really well with blinking stuff. That's where Harbinger of Night does its best work, is when you can blink it before it just dies to it having -1/-1 counters on it. Either that, or you use like Vizier of Remedies, or a bunch of other things that can take counters off of Harbinger and just allow it to just go crazy. Suddenly, you've put like 7 -1/-1 counters on every other creature. You've blinked Harbinger a couple of times. Things can get pretty crazy, or like you kill your own Harbinger, and then you bring it back with a reanimation spell. There's a million ways to abuse this card, and they're all pretty conducive to a commander game, so I at least want to bring this card up at some point. It's a ridiculous piece. Number 13 is Shimmer. This is one of the biggest like screwjob cards in the entire set, because basically you're going to end up picking a basic land type most of the time with this card, and if your opponent's playing the wrong mana base, then they're just done. And sometimes this will screw over multiple opponents at the same time, and it's the kind of card that jerks play, but it has to go on this list because look at how much that could screw certain commander players, and that's why it's kind of this far down on the list. I feel like some people that know about this card would probably want it in the top 10. It's really highly ranked on EDH Rec. Like, it's a popular card for Mirage to play in Commander already, but I'd say that you can't put this in every Commander deck and expect it to screw every opponent at the table. It's not necessarily like that, especially considering you're playing Islands. You probably don't want to name Islands, and a lot of people play Islands in EDH. So the card doesn't always work out the way you want it to, but when it does, again, the hot cases are hot. It's ridiculous what this can do. And I just like that it's the most Mirage of all the cards in Mirage. It's an actual Mirage is the flavor here, and I like that. Number 12 is Purgatory, another really nice card for these black-white aristocrats types decks, but you don't necessarily need to be playing aristocrats. I'll get it together. One of these days, I'll stop Porky Pigging it. But you don't even have to be playing aristocrats to make this good. Just any black-white mid-range deck, or again, like black-white X thing that you're playing, could benefit from Purgatory. It takes a pretty good little investment to get your creatures out of Purgatory and back walking around in the real world, but 2 life isn't that big, and 4 mana really isn't that much in certain commander decks either. You make 4 mana like it's no big deal. So, especially when games go long, Purgatory can just help you get double duty out of all of your creatures, or even triple or quadruple duty depending on how often they die while you have your Purgatory out. So this can just make your really annoying creatures, or your creatures with enter the battlefield triggers, that much more annoying, and again, is really good with aristocrats. But number 11 is Preferred Selection, the poor person's Sylvan Library, or you just play it alongside your Sylvan Library and you see all the cards. So the thing is, 4 mana is kind of a lot, but being able to effectively scry 1 like every single turn is something that green decks, especially mono green decks, never get to do, and occasionally you'll be able to draw the card, and there's plenty of ways to get Preferred Selection back from your graveyard. Just keep doing it, draw free cards essentially. So Preferred Selection is actually one of the more popular cards for Commander from this set already. Lots of people know about this thing, and it's even experienced some price spikes from people speculating on the card in the past, but it's back down to a respectable cost right now, and I think it's a good time to get your hands on it, because especially if you're playing mono green decks, Preferred Selection is a really nice piece of exactly that, selection. But now we're in the top 10, y'all, and it's about time to talk about another card that was kind of a chase rare when the set first came out, and that's Celestial Dawn. We called it Bleach back in the day because it just makes everything white, and this has the effect of letting you just play a 5-color deck with only white sources, which is actually really, really sweet and translates to Commander really nicely. It's a big, dumb, stupid, fun thing you can do, and that's good for EDH, period, but it also allows you to do some pretty cool stuff when building your deck, again, especially for players that don't have the money for this huge mana base full of duels and $20 non-basics that do other stuff, Maze of Ith and stuff like that. If you don't have the money for all those crazy things, well, just play Celestial Dawn. You play a 5-color commander and your whole mana base is just plains and you kind of don't care. But number 9 is one that you're probably very well aware of, and that's Cursed Totem, another card that's seen a lot of speculation in this set, a lot of reserve list, MTG Finance, hashtag MTG Finance people buying up Cursed Totems. But again, it's calmed down a little bit at this point to a slightly more respectable level. And if you're having problems with activated abilities in your playgroup, then Cursed Totem will stop all that silliness just dead cold. It's a really interesting card for EDH, but it has some of the same problems as like Shimmer, for instance, in that it's not going to screw everybody on the table and you can't count on it to do that in every game of EDH. But again, if you're specifically having issues with people that play like broken activated abilities in your playgroup, then yeah, Cursed Totem is exactly where you want to go, and it's still relatively cheap. Here we are, number 8, Tombstone Stairwell, another one of the more fun cards when the set first came out, but this can still do serious work in EDH, especially, and mostly only if you can take the next turn after you play this. For instance, play it somehow at instant speed. That's one way to do it on the turn before yours starts, or just take another turn, play like a time walk effect of some kind after you play your Tombstone Stairwell, because as long as you're the first person to be able to attack with all those zombies, you're doing pretty well, it turns out. There's a lot of ways to engineer your deck in such a way that you just get like 40 zombies, whatever. So you just dump half your deck, dredge style, into your graveyard. And then, by the time you can play Tombstone Stairwell, you're going to have way more zombies than everyone else anyway, so what does it even matter if you get to attack first or not some of the time? So Tombstone Stairwell is just a super fun card to build around, and it's still kind of a force in Commander that a lot of people already know about, and its price tag is sort of evidence of that. Now, my number 7 is one of a couple of almost completely forgotten gems from this set, and that is Unfulfilled Desires. This is really awesome. Just look at the text box on it. It's not even that difficult to cast in the first place. It's only 3 mana. It's not a big deal, right? After that, you pump 1 mana at a time into it, and you got to pay it a little bit of life, but who cares? This Commander, you got 40 of it, so it's technically twice as good as it would be in a normal game of Magic. And you get to loot. That means you get to fill your graveyard if that's what you're looking to do. And you get to draw cards, which everyone is looking to do. So it's just a really, really good card that I would bet you've probably never seen before or have completely forgotten if you played Mirage, if you played Magic back when this set was first released. So this is just an insane looking card to me. And even though I've never played it in EDH, I can tell you right now, this is stiff. This is a very nice piece of cardboard right here. And I'm willing to try it out in a bunch of different decks because it turns out there's a lot of really good Dimir Commander decks. But my number 6 is the Azorius equivalent to Unfulfilled Desires, and that's Reparations. Again, look at the text box on this card, especially in the color combination that it's in, blue and white. You want exactly that. You want to control the game, you want to draw cards, and you want to punish people for trying to fool around with you. So, yeah, this is very, very good. And if you have like a particular combo that you're trying to assemble, then again, this will punish your opponents for trying to meddle with it and stuff. So this is just a really hot card. And if Ristic Study is such an awesome card, then I don't see why Unfulfilled Desires and Reparations aren't sort of seen in that same sort of plane, because both of these last 2 cards are 3 mana enchantments that'll draw you a ton of cards over the course of a game. Well, we've hit the top 5, and number 5 is Mangara's Tome. It kept climbing as I was making this video. This was out of the top 10 at first, and I just kept thinking about it. Man, in Commander, you go get 5 cards, whatever cards you want. Is that not broken? They can break your Mangara's Tome, and you kind of feel bad, but there's also the fact that you go get 5 cards. Come on. That's so good. In a deck of 100 cards where you can only play 1 of each card, that seems very, very busted, especially if you're trying to put together a very specific combo in your Commander deck. Yeah, Mangara's Tome looks like exactly where you want to be, so I just wanted to point out how crazy this card looks. It looks made for this format 20 years before that format was even a thing. But number 4 is a card that was it's bounced back and forth. It's been number 2 at times. I couldn't put the biggest screw your opponent's card in the entire set at number 2. So just outside of the top 3 is Hall of Gemstone. I just couldn't reward this behavior by putting it in the top 3. I couldn't do it. This is even worse than Shimmer if your opponents are playing multicolored cards at all. Their commander has 3 colors. Just RIP, Being able to only make 1 color of mana on all your turns is just abusive. It's gross. And I expected this card to be banned in Commander. It was one of those, I was looking through cards from the set, And I went to gather, and I went to sets and legality, and I was like, yeah, that's probably banned in Commander. I mean, I have to look and check just to make sure it's not. It's not. It's legal to play in Commander. How? Why? This is just a huge screw job, and it probably shouldn't be allowed to exist in the format. But while it is, I should probably point out how dumb the card is gross. But top 3, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to satiate your need for actual commanders in a commander video. I know I talked about a few in the honorable mentions, but there's one that's just head and shoulders above every other commander in this set by a lot. And that is Zeroland of the Cloth. Just read that text box. Go and get just dragons. Play dragons is the basic gist of this, and then you just get whatever dragon that you want every single turn. And, yeah, it goes away after that, but there's still plenty of ways to abuse this card, and even after they're gone, there's plenty of ways to abuse that, too. So it's just not a huge deal. Going and getting whatever dragon you want pretty much every turn to attack consequence-free is... I think that's good. I'm pretty sure that if you're trying to build an interesting commander deck, this is one of the more fun brew-arounds, that's it, I could possibly recommend to you. So if you're going to try one commander from this entire set, give Zeroland a shot. But my number 2 is Natural Balance. Now, if you look closely in that video of Mike Long playing at the 96 Worlds, you'll also notice this card in his hand for a good portion of the game. This was a pretty competitive card back in the day, and in fact, one of the chase rares from the set as well. This sat at about $10, and 15, I think, at one point. For a good long time, because this is obviously just a powerful card in its face when you read the text box. This transcends into Commander really, really well, because basically it's just going to be a huge land destruction piece. Yeah, there's going to be some decks you can put this in that allow you to, only run on 2 or 3 lands, have a couple of elves or a few rocks out or something, and actually cast this on turn 8 or 9 when all your opponents have all their lands out, and just totally screw them. You go get a couple of lands, they have to sacrifice like 4 of theirs, and that seems nice, but for the most part, I just want to cast this on like turn 12 and reset everybody back to 5 lands. That also seems like a very, very good use for the card, and some people are going to have to make really difficult decisions with their mana base, depending on how they build their commander deck. All those flashy non-basics they spent $20, $30 on a piece, in the bin, son. So this card is just really, really hot looking to me, and I couldn't resist putting it in the top 3. But number 1, it had to be, we're actually going to cheat a little bit, put 3 cards in this one slot, because the entire Bant Tutors cycle from this set has got to be number 1. They're actually all ranked like the number 1, 2, and 3 cards on EDH Rec from Mirage. You can see why. 1 mana tutor, just tutors in general are very good in EDH as a general rule, but 1 mana tutors are insanely hot, and it doesn't matter that they're for specific card types. As a matter of fact, it almost helps that they're for specific card types. Like the white tutor is like $30 right now, because the ability to go get whatever artifact or enchantment you want is obviously insanely busted in Commander, especially for just 1 mana. But even the green and blue tutors are obviously insane for good reasons. So these just kind of have to be the best cards in the set. Sorry about that. I know it's not especially exciting, but, the Bant Tutors from the set are just obviously the best cards. And they even were back in the day. We recognized how ridiculous these cards were, and nothing has changed 20-some-odd years later. 23, almost a quarter of a century at this point. These cards are just insane. And Vampiric Tutor would become the black one, in the very next set. And that is arguably the best of this cycle, unless you want to count Gambit, which sort of closes out this cycle from Urza's Saga and allows you to go get whatever you want, maybe. So they did finish off this cycle eventually, but you could argue that the original 3, these blue, green, and white ones, are some of the best. Well, that's my list, at least. What do you got? Yeah, I'm sure there's some things that I missed from the set. Aphia's Grove, Jungle Patrol, I think it's called. There's a bunch of really well-loved Commander staples from Mirage, but they're not necessarily as well-known as they ought to be. So sound off in the comments section. Let me know how you felt about my list and anything that I let off. Yeah, do all the YouTube stuff apart from that. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe if you're new. Check out TCG Player. Link in the description. They sponsor my videos. And I've got a link down there to all the cards that were in this video in kind of a quote-unquote deck list. But if you just wanted to order any of this stuff, I've got it ready for you in a link in the description down there. So check that out. Join the Patreon for $1 a month if you want to help pick what content I do around here. Just a buck for that. So do that if you're interested. And I'm pretty sure that I gotta get out of here because we've been here forever. That intro was a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle. I'm Deb from the place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.